whenever you take the test, because otherwise we're not going to have a lot of... We're probably going to do 2 of them in class, so that just leaves 1 to do. Hey, Ashton. Okay. It was negative 2,415.57. Okay. Alright, I would like for us to do this first one together. It is also calculator active. No, just the first one.
A, B, and C.
Okay. So, we will probably do one of these today, one tomorrow. The other one you're going to need to look at it on your own. I would highly suggest looking at it before the test, even though it's not due until Monday, because it is going to be similar to stuff that you'll see on the test. Okay. Alright, so I want to do this one together because we have not looked at one quite like this before. So f is the continuous function defined from -1 to 8, whose graph consisting of 2 line segments is shown above. So this is f. Our graph is f. We do not have an equation for f. We only have a graph. Let g and h be the continuous functions defined by, and then they give us the equation for g and the equation for h. Okay, so now they're going to define another function k, and k is f of x times g of x. And we are supposed to find k prime of 0. So, obviously to find k prime of 0, we're going to have to find k prime of x. K prime of x. What's that going to be? Possibly. Yeah. F is the graph only. Alright, so this is just product rule. This is the definition of product rule, basically. Right? So, we're finding f of 0 times g prime of 0 plus g of 0 times f prime of 0. So, we need f of 0, f prime of 0, we need g of 0, and g prime of 0. You need to list these over to the side, because the rubric for this gives you points for f prime of 0 and g prime of 0. So if you don't have that listed and you just start throwing numbers in, you may not get those full points. So f of 0. F is the graph. What is f of 0? 3. Okay, we're just reading that off of the graph. The y coordinate that goes with our point there is 3. F prime of 0 derivative is slope, and slope is 2. So we're not taking the derivative of 3, because 3 is just the value only at that single point. So if our equation, if f of x equals 3, then we would get 0. But you could write the equation of this, it's like 2x plus 3 right here, so we're taking the derivative of that. So we're just looking at this line, it has a slope of 2, so that's 2. Now, g of 0, we're plugging in 0 And we will get square root of 3. You can use your calculator there, but it's just going to x's go away. All right, you do not know how to take the derivative of this equation right here without the calculator, so you must use the calculator here. And this one is calculator active. So, derivative, I don't have it typed into y1 right now. I could. Do I want to? Yeah, let's give it y1. I like it better. Like that. Square root of x squared minus x plus 3. I'm going to go ahead and put the second one in y2 because we might need it in a little bit. Yes. We don't need it at all for this part of the problem. I'm just thinking I might need it in a minute, so I'm going to put it there. Okay. So, I'm going to go back to the home screen. I want the derivative of y1 of x, comma x, close your parentheses. I want to know that at 0, so I don't even really need to know the equation, right? I just need to know what it is at 0. So I'm going to do such that x equals 0. And I get negative square root of 3 over 6. I'm going to tell you that I think our life is going to be a little bit easier if we just go with a decimal on that. And if it's calculator active, decimals are acceptable. So anytime you need a decimal, just hit green button and enter. It'll give you the decimal. So I put the equation in y1, and then I did derivative of y1 of x, comma x, close that parentheses. Then you do that line that's next to your 7, means such that x equals 0. Okay. That is g prime of 0. We okay here? Yeah. All right, now we just need to plug these numbers in. So 3 times negative 0.288676 plus g of 0, which is square root of 3, times f prime of 0, which is 2. So we type that in. On these calculators, you can do 3 times, and then you want to use that whole decimal, so I would go up here. If you just click the up button and hit enter, it'll just copy that down for you so that you don't have to round any at all. Plus square root of 3 times 2. And so we are getting 2.598 if we round to 3 decimal places, or if you want to keep that whole decimal, that's fine too. You won't get the answer point if you do that. So you need to keep all the decimals. Now, like if you round that to 0.288, you're probably going to be off. If you round it to 0.28867, you'll probably still be okay. It's just, but the best thing to do is like copy the whole number. That way, there's no chance that you mess it up. As long as it's a number that you used pretty recently, if you just go up there and select it and hit enter, it'll bring that number down to the line you're working on. So that's the easiest thing to do. You can also store the number. I'll show you guys how to do that one day, but we're not worried about it right now. questions? All right, B. B is going to be, we got to take the derivative of this. What are we going to have to use here? We have to plug in 5. What do we have to use to take this derivative? Before I put 5 in, I've got to use the quotient rule. So 2g of x times the derivative of the top, which is f prime of x, minus f of x times the derivative. What's the derivative of 2g of x? No. 2g prime of x. 2 is just a coefficient. Because it's just a coefficient. It's like taking the derivative of 2x to the third. Or it's like taking the derivative of 2e to the x. Think of it that way. Like if I took the derivative of 2e to the x, the 2 just stays out front. Or if I take the derivative of 2 sine, it would be 2 cosine. It's just a coefficient, so it just stays there. All over 2g of x squared. And so this time we're plugging in 5 for everything. And over here on the side, I need to know f of 5, g of 5, f of 5, f prime of 5, g of 5, and g prime of 5. I feel like you're safest doing this way, but you could probably get away with going straight to the numbers as long as you list over here on the side that f of 5 equals and f prime of 5 equals. So you got to list that out. Okay. So f of 5, if we go back up here to the graph, what is f of 5? It is 5. What is f prime of 5? Negative 2/3. That is our slope there. No, you're just finding g prime of 5 because the 2 is sort of like it's still in your equation there. So we can do this. Actually, let me do g of 5 first before I do. Okay, let's see. I'm going to tell you, just because I've already done this question, it's also easier on this one just to go with decimals. So if I want to know g of 5, g was in y1, so I can do y1 of, oh wait, first I got to go down here. And just do y1 of 5, and I get this decimal. Actually, I'm going to show you how to store these. I would store this as a letter. So if we want to store this so I'm going to store this as a letter so that I don't have to type it back in. So if you click STO and then any letter that you want, if you just hit alpha, you can do any of the letters. They're purple here, but I think they're white on yours. So that number that you just got, you're going to hit STO, which is right there beside of the 1. And then any letter you want, I'm just going to use an A. So you just hit the alpha button, and then up here in the corner, you've got all of your letters. I think they're white on yours. And I just chose A there and hit enter. So now every time you type A, it actually equals that number. until you replace it with something else.
So R will always be this freaking decimal in my calculator.
Unless you reset the calculator or change it back to something else. You won't need to. Just don't store anything as X or Y or T, because you use those variables pretty often. So any other letter is pretty much safe.
Don't use the big ones.
Right. Basically, don't use X, Y, Z, or T, and you'll probably be all right. Okay. We also need G prime of 5. So G prime of 5, we are going to go F3, differentiate Y1 of X, comma, X, close parentheses, such that X equals 5. Oh, I should hit the green button. Enter. So I got 0.938315. And I'm going to store that as a B. Yeah, I stored that one as B. And you can even do this, like on the actual free response. I'm going to put equals A and equals B here so that you don't have to write that out if you want. So when you plug this in, you're going to have M prime of 5 equals 2. I'm going to put the A. It's okay to do that. Or you can write 4.79583. As long as you've said that this is equal to A, you can put an A right here. Times F prime of 5, which is negative 2/3 minus 5 times 2 times G prime of 5, which I'm just going to put a B, all over 2 times A squared. I'm writing A's and B's instead of 4.79583 and 0.938315. You don't have to do that. So I'm going to do 2A times negative 2/3 minus 5 times 2 times B. Oh, it didn't do something right. Sometimes it doesn't like this when you put like a letter next to parentheses. You have to put a multiplication symbol there. I don't know why it does that, but it does. And that's over 2A squared. And so we're getting negative 0.171. I do need to make sure I'm getting this right. Check that. 2A squared. Make sure the 2 and A is in parentheses. If it did not store one of your variables, then you will not get it right. If this one gets fixed. Yes. Alright, it will be a whole question. So it'll be all of number 1 or all of number 2 or all of number 3. This is what we're doing right now is a whole question, a whole FRQ question. We're not quite. I think this one is 4, 3, and 2. Yeah. Okay. So, we're supposed to find the value of x between -1 and 2 such that f prime of x equals h prime of x. So I need, between -1 and 2, I need the derivative of f to equal the derivative of h. So, this could be, we need to set the derivative equal to each other, but we don't have an equation for f. However, between -1 and 2, we got the same slope everywhere here. What is that slope? 2. So f prime of x is just going to be 2 on that interval. And then we can take our derivative. This is a really easy one to take the derivative of by hand, or you can do it with the calculator, but I would just do this one by hand. Because the derivative of 5e to the x is 5e to the x. And then you got a -9 sine x, which is going to be -9 cosine x. You're not listening as I explain it because you're doing other stuff. But okay. All right, now, we don't know how to solve that by hand, which is why it's great that this is calculator active. So, I don't think that you would. I think you would be okay here as long as you show it's equal to each other. So, in the calculator is how you're going to solve this. So, solve 2 equals 5e to the x minus 9. Solve is F2. The 5 buttons at the top. Second one. Cosine x. Now, it may give us something crazy. We may have to revert back here. Make sure when you do solve, you're going to type in the equation, comma x. It's going to take it a while. It's telling you, warning, more solutions may exist. That's always when you know something crazy. Okay. So you have to be between -1 and 2. So 0.622081 is. So I could say x equals 0.622081. And if you go over, that one is not in the range. I don't think any of the rest of them are. Yeah. If you didn't hit the green button before you hit enter, you might get something that looks way worse than this. Does it still say busy? There's only one answer. And you could round that off to 0.622, or you can just leave it like I've got here. Okay. All right. Questions? If you sometimes with trig functions like this, you run into problems whenever it gives you the answer here. Sometimes they'll put like plus or minus, or put like a plus 2 pi k sort of thing there. It gets really confusing. If that happens, you always have the backup of going to y equals. You could clear this stuff out, put 2. You could clear this out. In y1, you could put 2, which is on one side of the equation. And on the y2, you could do 5e to the x minus 9 cosine x. And then if you do the green button window, make it go from negative 1 to 2 so that you're looking at the right part and graph it. You could find where they cross, which is going to be right here, which will give you that same number. So if for some reason the solve is not working, I changed my window so that this is just going from negative 1 to 2, so 1 is right here. So do math. If you want to find the intersection, you're going to do F5, which is math right here, and number 5 right there is intersection. And so it'll tell you first curve, second curve. Lower bound really means left side, so you're on the left side. And then upper bound really means the right side. And it'll give you that same value. How it does what? You don't have to graph it. Sometimes when you try this, it works okay on this one because it gives you the numbers that you need. Sometimes when you try to do solve with trig stuff, it starts giving you like recurring values and it's really hard and you can't tell what the answers are. If that happens, this is like a backup of what you can try. Yeah, and that'll work with any equation. I mean, if you had like 3 equals x plus 2, you could put y1 equals 3 and y2 equals x plus 2 and see where they cross. I mean, I hope you wouldn't have to do that, but you could. Once you get the graph, if you hit F5, right there, number 5 is the intersection, and that's what you'll look at. So that's always backup if you can't get the solve to work. Okay. All right. I am going